I watched Jon Stewart Daily Show. It's just crazy. It really is crazy how it's like even in these shows they don't even have to like necessarily make jokes. They just have to mention the thing that's happening or what was said directly, whatever, and it works. I just can't. Trump is gonna make like $50 million off of all these lawsuits. Like, it just, what is happening here? What the fuck is happening? We are in such a strange time right now. And as I said, like, I'm proud of my hate, man. I hate these fuckers, like, with everything I have, and as proudly as I can. Like, as much as I could stand up for, you know, my children, my you know, whatever it may, freedom, you know, all that. I'm just as proud to hate these fucking things, to hate these people, to hate this script, to hate this narrative we're given. I'm just so sick of it, and it's so crazy how obvious it all is, and yet it's played off like it's just some like chicken with its head cut off running around, and we're just like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. Oh, I can't. This is insane. I absolutely hate the cult, the chosen cult. I hate them. And I know people will say, like, I know good people, I know good Jays, I know this, that, I have friends that are, and blah, blah, blah. I say it all the time. Look, if you're really a good person, you can't just be like, oh, I'm a good person, you know, I belong to NAMBLA. I don't necessarily partake in any of the NAMBLA stuff, but I still belong to it. It's just weird, you know. And it's funny too. What were we talking about? What was something my wife and I can't remember what it was, but they were talking about this white guy who said all these hateful things and blah blah blah. And I was like, my wife was telling me, like, expecting me to get mad, and I was like, good. I encourage him to say those things. I you know. I never have an issue like again, how we've been molded. You know, we get upset when the white guy says the racist stuff, giving that racist shit its power. Like, if you don't care and you're like, it's just some doofus white guy being the doofus white guy that he is, well, then the things he says doesn't nearly have the impact it's intended to. But when you get all upset, that's exactly what's supposed to happen. Nobody drops N-bombs because they're trying to make you feel good about yourself. You know? Unless, of course, they put the A on the end and they refer to you as my nigga. You my nigga. That makes it okay. But for anybody to get upset about that shit, you're just stupid. It's like you're going to get upset over somebody saying words while your church continues to rape children, while Israel continues to genocide, and you know, genocide is just sort of the tip of the iceberg. They do a lot of really horrible shit involved in that genocide, raping children being one of them. But like the things people get upset about and they cry over, oh, he said some words I disagree with. Oh, he doesn't feel the same way about something that I do. He likes something I don't like. He hates something I do like. Well, like, it's It's shocking. And not even as much as the people getting upset about it, but the response that people demand, like, oh, I don't like what he said, so he shouldn't be allowed to say it. I don't know the truth about this, that, or the other, so he shouldn't know it. Why does he know stuff that I don't know? Like, it's shocking. But it's you can see, if you just step back, you can see like how and why it is that way. It's that way on purpose. It was designed that way. It's a protection scheme. It's an insulation mechanism. It's how they keep themselves, safe. Because they just play that card. Anytime somebody says something that doesn't fit the narrative, that upset someone, so you can't say it now. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, this is the truth. And if you're upset about the truth, then I don't even know what to say there. And as far as like thin skin shit goes, like, can you imagine with all of the dumbass comments that I get, all of the racist comments, all of the just stupid shit that doesn't even necessarily fit or any, but can you imagine if I could be like, oh, that person's in trouble now because they said something I don't like. My wife and I get into it all the time for the same thing. It's programmed into us on so many levels. It's not just the big picture. It's on the small picture. My wife and I fight about it all the time, and I say to her, look, if I'm doing something that you don't like, just tell me. But it seems like you get upset at me because I say things you don't like. Other than saying things you don't like, what am I doing that's actually bothering you? And you'll see that a lot. That's, like I say, it's in my personal life down to my marriage, but then on the bigger picture aspect of things. Like everything that's ever said about the chosen cult, nobody ever denies it. There's no denial of the raping of children. There's no denial of the Matitza Bepe. There's no denial of the psychopathy that is associated with their shit. They just literally say, don't say it. You're not supposed to say those things. You dumb goyim, you're not supposed to talk about things like that. You're not supposed to know these things. And it's like, look at the average religious person. The average religious person believes the craziest shit. Like when you break down what your average Christian actually believes, it's insanity. It's so insane that Christians will call something else insane for saying similar things. Islam is this terrible scourge, this horrible thing that poisons our society, blah 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 blah, and it's almost identical. Just some name changes here and there, some place changes and whatnot, but the narrative is basically the same, and the underlying narrative is definitely the same. And yet, the Christians are mad at me right now for saying this. How dare you say that Islam and Christianity are similar? It's so weird. We've become such sissies. It's so weird because it's such you can see why it's this way. You can see how it was created to be this way and manipulated, and how we've been tricked into being these super sensitive crybabies, upset about nothing, and totally complacent, totally, accommodating of atrocity. I mean, I just, like I say, if you're mad about anything anyone ever says, but then you're quiet about the genocide that's taking place, how does that even work? How do you reconcile that in your head and make that like, no, see, I'm justified because, he said some words I don't like, and, well, yeah, those are kids being killed every day, but it really is shocking. And I mean, I can just see how everything's been weaponized. I can see how, like, as far as, it's a weird thing to say, but how compassion has been weaponized. How caring about something has been weaponized. What genocide, says some dumb J piece of shit? Right? Like, that's the best that they can do. Pretend like it's not actually happening? Pretend like there's not a fucking genocide happening? Yeah, okay, that's what I mean. It shows what a piece of shit person you are. And at the same time, I guarantee this crybaby would get upset when I start talking about what horrible people the Jays are. It's really, it's shocking. You start pointing out what horrible, controlling, manipulative, disgusting, baby raping, molesting, these are the worst people in the world. And they get upset when you say things they don't like. And it's the truth about them. I ask a question and you respond with no answer. Yep. Because there's all these different genocides going on right now that are making headlines, and you have no idea what I'm talking about. It's just so stupid. Oh, you know who the Jays are. They are the chosen. The chosen people. And if you say anything to the contrary, you're a heretic. How dare you? How dare you not accept the idea that we are chosen and you are just some regular schmuck? What's wrong with you? Why don't you like that? Yup, I just learned the word genocide. Not like the fake Holocaust genocide. The real genocide that's being broadcast every day. The one that you can literally prove through video and testimony and all that shit. Not some story time bullshit that's been exaggerated to give you the excuse that you need. And even then, me saying I don't believe in the Holocaust, shouldn't it be a situation where I say that and then people go, oh, well, here, let me prove it to you. You don't believe it, but it's true, so here, let's prove. Shouldn't that be the case? Not, oh, you can't say that. Oh, you can't say that. Yep, I need help. I need help. I need meds. I need all the provided talking points because I don't just keep my head down and believe that those are God's chosen people. It's okay what they're doing because they're God's chosen people. It's just atrocious, man. It's atrocious how flagrantly fucking biased and just stupid this all is, and then everybody just fucking buys into it. Because you've been scared. You don't want to get labeled anti-Semite, anti-Semitism, incorrectly anti-Semitic. Because you don't know how to respond to that. There's a simple response to that accusation. Somebody calls you anti-Semitic, you just say you clearly don't know what words mean. I absolutely support the Palestinians. I'm not anti-Palestinian at all. I'm not anti-Syrian or anti-Iran or anything like that. But Semitism, on the other hand, is literally supremacy. It's literally what it means. When you say that policy, meaning the laws, rules, regulations, all that shit, policy and predisposition is favorable to your group, it doesn't matter who your group is, that's supremacy. The laws, the rules, regulations, and the way people go into it, the predisposition, the way you think about it before you know any of the details, it's favorable to this one group of people. That's supremacy. Are you pro-Hamas? I mean, if Hamas was real, I would absolutely be pro-Hamas. And the thing is, again, why wouldn't people? Imagine if the Native Americans somehow formed this ultra powerful force and were able to just start bombing the shit out of wherever they wanted to. The average American would be like, the government needs to do something. We need to stop this. And they were like, no, this is our land. Even though, like, literally it is their land. There's not that act, like, the whole idea that this land was promised to the Jewish people by God in the Bible. I mean, that's just dumbass nonsense, right? But the whole narrative that we're given, the historical narrative we're given, says that the Native Americans, they're literally the Native Americans. That's what we call them. And if they started acting up and killing children and all this other, everybody would be like, fuck yeah, do something about that. Nobody would go, well, it is the promised land, so, we gotta let them have it. But this, and look at the comments. Nobody's gonna actually address what I'm saying. You need to read a book. Where are you getting your information from? You mean the definition of the word that I got from Webster's dictionary, Merriam-Webster? The people that sort of decide what words mean? Yeah, that's where I get it from. Or the Wikipedia that Israel brags about controlling? You think maybe I get it from there? Maybe? No, I just make all this stuff up. But again, notice how instead of actually like debunking or addressing something that I've said, it's just, you're just making this stuff up. You're lying. You're just lying right now. You shouldn't say those things. You're not allowed to say those things. Why are you saying things that you're not allowed to, you stupid goyim? Merriam-Webster doesn't say Hamas is real. Well, there's a lot to show you that Israel created Hamas. Israel funds Hamas. Hamas is just the Al-Qaeda, the ISIS for Israel. And anytime they need something, Hamas shows up. But if Hamas was real and actually finally stepped up and fought back, they would be completely justified. They would have all of the support in the world. The fact that they were only able to do one sort of thing, one foolish catalyst to excuse their genocide, that seems kind of fishy to me. But let's not talk about that. Let's not look into that. Let's not ask those questions. Again, instead of like it being a situation where I'm saying things that maybe you don't agree with, or maybe even I am getting wrong, instead of acknowledging it and trying to, oh, well, you've got this wrong. It's actually this, or it's actually that. Again, it's just crybaby shit. Why are you saying these things? Why are you saying these things? You're saying things that I don't agree with. but I'm not smart enough to actually debunk or deny anything you're saying. It's just your typical fucking J bullshit, man. This is what they do. This is how they operate. It's all guilt. It's all attack. It's not about, again, educate. What part am I getting wrong? What did I get wrong about Semitism? You go ahead and explain to me how I got that one wrong. You go ahead and explain to me how ISIS is real. They posted on Facebook the other day. Like, it's just incredibly stupid. And it's so obvious. And it's with all due respect, please explain. If you want to hear about submarines, go watch part 1 through 9. The fact is, you're just trying to distract, right? You don't actually want to get into submarines because it's just another one of these subjects that you don't have any answers to. You don't know anything. None of you are submarine experts. And yet you want to sit here and pretend like, oh, I should, instead of talking about, the genocide that's happening, who controls the world, all the pedophilia, all that shit, instead of talking about that stuff, talk about submarines. Why don't you talk about submarines? It's the same kind of crybaby bullshit it always is. Oh, now you're going to talk to yourself. This guy would blah, blah, blah. This guy. It's the same crazy, stupid shit. Oh, let's see. Leo Black, who has been a member of YouTube for 5 years and has 0 subscribers. He's literally been on a submarine before. And 20 minutes into a video that's titled something, he's like, hey, submarines are, like, it's so strange to me. I must be hitting on something without really realizing, like, what I've done here. It really must be a big deal for me to say submarines aren't real. With the way it upsets so many people, it seems like I must have, actually hit the nail on the head with something here. And maybe should probably look into it more. But then again, I've done that. Parts 1 through 9, I think we sufficiently debunk submarines. I don't think there's you can make a better argument for submarines than the ones I've made against. And yet still, there is no other side of this. Debunk them again. Again, this dumbass wants me to stop talking about the genocide. Stop talking about the pedophilia. Stop talking about things that matter. And instead talk about my personal belief on whether submarines are real or not. That makes sense, doesn't it? It's really fascinating how all of this works. It's just again, it's like, and this idea that I'm just supposed to believe random profiles on a YouTube feed. Where, again, I don't think people understand what we're dealing with here. Let's start with the proof, right? You guys always want to see proof of stuff. So, proof. My main source of information is Wikipedia. And it's by choice, right? Because Wikipedia is the source they want us to have, right? It's not some crazy conspiracy thing. Wikipedia is where you're supposed to get your information from. It's the number one source of information in the world, and it's the one that they want us to use. You know, if you can tell me a better general source of information, like, of course there's going to be more in-depth details in stories if you go to like the official page for this, that, and the other. You know, if you look up Team Jorge, you're going to find a really good summary of it on Wikipedia, but it's not complete. And if you go look up the actual story, then you'll see that it's worse than Wikipedia reports it to be. But Wikipedia reports it in a certain way that they want us to think, to see, to believe. And so, you know, that's as official of a narrative as it gets. Not everybody should be allowed on the internet. Yes, free speech is a terrible thing. And if I don't like what you're saying, you shouldn't be allowed to say it. This is how dumb they are. They're so dumb that they're literally coming in and making my point for me, right? Like, think about how fucking stupid you have to be. I'm literally saying this, that this is where we've gotten to where their only protection mechanism they have anymore is the sensitive one. They're not, they can't engage and embrace and you know, and debate about things and you know, prove something that's being said wrong. So literally the only protection they have left is to tell you you're not supposed to say that. You're not, hey, what are you saying those things for? There's rules, okay? We have rules put in place, and you're not supposed to say that. Hey there, mister. Why are you saying things that we've already laid out? You're not supposed to say those things. Haven't you seen all the other people get in trouble for saying similar things? Haven't you making... Somebody says, go to sleep, the crack. How do you go to sleep if you're smoking crack? But again, this is the best that they can do. Literally, like this is Israeli best. I'm telling you, the comments that are happening right now are Israel's best. This is the best that the chosen people can come up with. They're just so stupid that not only can they not come up with anything better, they're actually making my argument for me. That's how stupid they are. You're just entertainment. Yep. Of all the things that exist on YouTube, the endless pages, the endless videos of from the past, your television, your cable, your Fire Stick that lets you watch whatever you want, the Hulus, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, all the other platforms that exist that allow you to do all sorts of things. You play chess, you can trade stocks, you can do anything you want. I'm the most entertaining. And ow, that's supposed to hurt my feelings. You're just entertainment. If you're entertained by the idea of pedophilia, if you're entertained by the idea of genocide, of slavery, you know, you're saying a lot more about yourself than you want to admit. Yep, because I don't use actual news sources like, I don't know, the Israel National News, right? IsraelNationalNews.com. It's not a good enough source. And the guy that's talking, Naftali Bennett, who at the time in 2010 when this was recorded was a future prime minister. And, you know, in 2025 he's the former prime minister. But to have a prime minister on a news network saying this isn't good enough. This isn't proof enough.
Moetzet Yesh, in conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the number one source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
I came here to learn more.
So, the proof of what? What are you proving? Well, I think that video sufficiently proves that Wikipedia, the source that we're supposed to go to, the number one source of information in the world, is controlled by Israel. So when you read stuff on Wikipedia that makes Israel kind of look bad, know that that's the best spin that Israel could put on it. And you're saying, well, what do you mean by stuff on Wikipedia? I'm stupid. I don't understand. Well, let's look up Team Jorge real quick, shall we? Team Jorge, Wikipedia page. See that? I don't give my sources. Team Jorge is the name given to an outfit of Israeli contractors specialized in the use of malign cyber activities, including hacking, sabotage, and bot farm run social media disinformation campaigns to manipulate the outcomes of elections. So, like again, if they can manipulate the outcomes of elections, I would assume, call me crazy, but I would assume that fucking with a YouTube feed probably isn't out of their reach. Maybe I'm just a crazy conspiracy theorist. But let's keep going. The group was exposed in February 2023 after an award-winning undercover operation by journalists from Israel and France as part of a consortium of investigative journalists from all over the world, coordinated by Forbidden Stories. The organization has been active since at least 2015. What happened in 2015, 2016? Is that when Donald Trump lost the election that Russia interfered with to help him win? But he lost by 2.7 million votes. And then the AIPAC-controlled swamp that he said he was going to drain put him in office anyway? Is that about what happened there? It seems a little coincidental, I guess. Since 2015, and boasts of having manipulated 33 presidential elections worldwide. Gotta love that, 33. Many of them in Africa, so don't worry, white people. These were in Africa, so you have nothing to worry. It's not the United States. At least 4 of them were in Africa. At least 4. And in 27 cases with successful results. 27 out of 33 times they were successful in manipulating a presidential election. That makes sense, doesn't it? Their activities were revealed following a 2022 sting operation in Tel Aviv carried out by 3 undercover journalists who posed as prospective clients and filmed their interactions with Tal, T-A-L, Hanan, H-A-N-A-N, the group's leader and former Israeli Special Forces operative, in which he explained the inner workings of the organization. According to him, Team Jorge has existed for more than 2 decades, over 20 years, and has been engaged in propaganda and disinformation activities in more than 30 countries. However, its first documented activity dates back to 2015. Their services have been available to government intelligence agencies, political campaigns, and private companies that wish to covertly manipulate the public. Isn't it strange how, again, we have, instead of engaging in what the conversation is about, which is, all of our American lives, This is the acknowledgement that Israel is interfering in our lives, controlling our information, controlling our ability to post, controlling, social media, controlling everything in a way that should at the very least bother people, right? Yet instead, we have a whole bunch of real profiles. I'm sure these are real people who are so much more concerned with my opinion on submarines that they don't care about our country being controlled by Israel. That makes sense, doesn't it? Especially if they're like, I'm a military man. I'm a military man. So I have all these special feelings. I don't like you talking about submarines like that. And I've already said to them, look, if you really want to have that conversation, then go look at the first 9 parts. It's not like I'm hiding it. You can absolutely go find my opinion on submarines, my debunk of submarines, on this channel. Go find it. Submarines aren't real. Parts 1 through 9. If you really, really, truly were that interested, you just go do it. What's stopping you from finding my submarines aren't real arguments and then debunking them? But instead of actually, engaging, and the thing is, again, if I engage in the conversation, they're not going to say anything. They're not going to have any sort of intelligent.
Thing they sent you?
No.
You haven't watched it?
No, how could I?
I sent it before you went live. Wait, it must be somewhere else. I don't know where.
You didn't take the one from downstairs?
The one on the mantle, yeah. I don't know where the other one is.
Okay, do you think maybe I could use it? And then if you find it, you know where another one is or something like that? Is it possible? Thanks, I appreciate that.
Find the one that's lost.
I mean, at the end of the day, you have all these people saying they're more concerned with my belief in submarines than genocide, than pedophilia, than slavery, than any of these like real topics that really affect things. What I think about submarines shouldn't affect you. Strange that it bothers people so much. Anyway, and especially that I'm talking about Team Jorge, and they just seem to be really, really bothered by me talking about Team Jorge, who has existed for more than 2 decades and engaged in propaganda and disinformation activities in more than 30 countries. However, its first documented activity dates back to 2015, just that reminder. Their services have been available to government intelligence agencies, political campaigns, and private companies that wish to covertly manipulate public opinion. One of the organization's primary tools is a software package called Advanced Impact Media Solutions, or AIMS. The software automates centralized control of thousands of fake social media profiles on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, blah, 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 the gauntlet. So to me, that is as smoking gun evidence as I can come up with. Like, if I could find better evidence than that, I would. I would actually, but at the same time, what more do you need? What else do you require? Well, here, let me give you a little bit more. Because at the same time, you have Team Jorge, you also have act.il. Act.il was a social networking service used by supporters of Israel to oppose online anti-Israel content such as the BDS movement boycott, divestments, and sanctions. Its activities were referred to as a, quote, online propaganda campaign and, quote, a virtual situation room for pro-Israel experts. So again, look at all of the people on my feed and the comments that are all seemingly inspired to say the same things, to ignore the real issues and say the same, I don't know, talking points. Let's see what this says. Act.il directed its users to, quote, missions to like, comment on, and share pro-Israel material on social media. It also asked users to flag, report, and respond to criticisms of Israel. Users were guided on how to respond, which might entail writing a reply using the provided talking points. Almost like why all these comments are the same stupid nonsense. Or sharing or upvoting an allied comment. The app also provided users with ready-made memes promoting Israel's perspective for them to share. Now pay attention. By completing missions, users earned points, unlocked badges, and had their scores displayed on leaderboards. They were rewarded for doing what's done on my feed. Now, Team Jorge was just one group that was one Israeli Black Ops organization that was exposed. Just one. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of other ones that are, working using the same aims software, There are countless Israeli Black Ops organizations, along with act.il. According to Mondo Weiss, an email sent on March 22nd to the app's users announced that the app will be shut down, but that users should continue to interact with act.il's content on its other social media platforms. So instead of having the direct paper trail, now they're just saying, well, go to social media where it's more covered up. Still exists, though. Still exists. And so when you look at my feed and you look at what's happening here, you look at these real people that are so inspired to create fake profiles so they can watch my feed and talk shit about the guy who thinks we should kill pedophiles and we should end the Israeli slavery of all of us. Nah, it's probably not this stuff. It's probably real people. Keegan thinks that it's the funniest content on earth to talk about pedophilia and enslavement and slavery and genocide. Like it's just insane how stupid these people are. How easily they walk into the trap. And again, if I'm wrong, why don't they just say so? Why don't they just tell me what exactly I'm wrong about, and more importantly, how I'm wrong? I'm not sitting here this is literally how it works everywhere. Like, how there are still Trump supporters blows my mind. It's not like he's done all this great shit to override the bad shit he's done. But the bad shit is just tremendous. It's tremendous. And instead of engaging in, whenever you talk to a Trump pansy, ask them, why do you support Trump? So what are you, a Biden supporter? What are you, a Kamala supporter? They won't actually answer what it is they support about this man, what he's done that's so great that should override us looking into his association with Israel. Because the whole Epstein thing is just a cover-up, you know. The Epstein thing, at the worst, you know, the guy that was supposedly like the glue in all of this, he can't even get in trouble. He's dead, supposedly. You know, this is a huge distraction. Imagine if everybody talking about Epstein was actually talking about the genocide taking place. Right? Think about how what could they do if we were all demanding that the government, instead of release the files that they've had years to craft and create the narrative for, instead of that, we say, you know, stop this genocide. Stop the killing of innocent people. Stop the supremacy that is clearly taking place. It's insane. Like, it really is when you start to try to look at it from not just my feelings perspective, but from like the nuts and bolts, the you know, the government side of things, the factual side of things. It's just shocking. You just like, how does anybody still believe this shit? Tea and crack blunts. Yep, that's me. Gotta love those talking points instead of engaging what's being said. By the way, if you are watching, like, share, sub, do all those things that actually help. It really does help, maybe. I don't know. That's what they say. That's what they tell us to say. I mean, I just, the whole narrative that we're given, you know, this idea of God's chosen people, the fact that you don't, as Christians, you know, the vast majority of you supposedly are Christians. I mean, I know that the vast majority of the profiles on here are Jewish, or at least being controlled by them, you know, Team Jorge style. But all of you Christians out there, how have you been tricked into believing that you, the Christian, isn't your Christian God's favorite chosen people? That a completely different religion that hates you, that killed your Jesus, that's the bad guys of your Bible, that somehow those are the good guys. How did that happen? Look at this shit. Look at these. Look at, instead, like, not one of these people is going, yeah, you know, this pedophilia is disgusting. We need to kill them. Yeah, we need to stop this genocide. Yeah, we need to, you know, stop the control of our country by a completely different country. Nothing. They have nothing to say but, no, this guy walks a lot. This guy, look at his face. This guy's smoking crack. I've said it time and time again. If I'm smoking all the crack, all the meth, shooting all the dope, drinking all the alcohol, you know, I beat my wife, I hit my kids, I kick my dogs, you know, I do all these terrible things. Does that override the fact that there's a genocide taking place right now? That the Israelis are literally starving people to death? And there are just so many videos that show you, like, not military, but the goofy ass inbred settlers stopping aid trucks, knocking the supplies off the back, you know, contaminating things, and you know, threatening drivers and putting boulders in the road so the trucks can't get by, shit like that. This isn't a secret. This is the most widely broadcast atrocity ever shown, ever, you know, in the history of media. We've never seen anything like this before. You know, this idea of this holocaust, where 6 million were supposedly killed, when there was only 3 million in Europe at the time, and most of them escaped here. So where did the 6 million go? Leah Bia! We were talking about you yesterday. We were reading about vaccines and how safe the Gardasil vaccine is for people. Yeah, it was actually so HAP is incentivizing parents to vaccinate their children. You get money. They literally will pay you to vaccinate your children. And one of them is the HPV shit, because it's so safe and effective. And of course, at this point, when I hear that kind of stuff, I immediately think of Leah. He tried to deny it one stream because he was doing drugs around his kid. Yep, that's me. Denying my kids and then doing drugs around them. That's what I do. We just lay out the lines, and it's like, oh, don't touch that. That's bad now. So this is like, and this is them sort of addressing what's kind of being said, but then going off the rails and fucking saying whatever they can say. Even if I was doing drugs around my children after denying them, you know, the kids that I say good morning to every day, would that take away from the genocide? Does one man's opinion on submarines take away from the genocide that's taking place? We've all seen him do it on stream and smoke weed. Otherwise, I think this is a natural obsession. Man's doing it for the love of the game. Okay. You guys know that weed isn't illegal, right? It's not a drug, right? And even still, before it was legalized, I had a prescription. I was allowed to. But this is just some crazy ass ad hominem bullshit. This is what they do. By the way, let's do that real quick, just so people understand. I've already shown you the Team Jorge element, the automated, centralized control of bot profiles, and more like avatars. They say it's not even. They're much more advanced than your standard bot. It's a technology that nobody's seen before outside of Israel. And then I showed you the program that rewards real people for creating fake profiles and coming to try to interfere with somebody talking bad about Israel. But it's actually, it doesn't just cover Israel. It's called ad hominem. An ad hominem is short for argumentum ad hominem, which refers to several types of arguments where the commenter attacks the character, motive, or some other attribute of the person making an argument rather than the substance of the argument itself. So every time I'm talking about we need to stop these pedophiles, we need to eliminate the J control, we need to stop the genocide, and you're like, but you smoke pot. You smoke pot. That's literally what we're talking about. This avoids genuine debate by creating a diversion, often using a totally irrelevant, but often highly charged attribute of the opponent's character or background. I mean, if weed is a big deal to you, you must not be paying attention. The most common form of this fallacy is person A, me, makes a claim of fact to which person B, the commenter, asserts that person A, me, has a personal trait, quality, or physical attribute that is repugnant, thereby going off topic, and hence person B, the commenter, concludes that person A, me, has their fact wrong without ever addressing the point of the debate. And that's what you see just time and time again here. This incredible effort, this incredible amount of energy that's put into somebody who's wrong, apparently. I'm wrong. And yet all of these people are just begging for my attention. Begging, please pay attention. I'll say whatever dumb shit I can come up with just to get you to pay attention. I won't talk about what you're talking about. But anything else, man, come on. It's silly. It's and it's literally what you see on every level of somebody talking about Israel. There are endless videos out there of people debating the legitimacy of Christianity. You can find all sorts of videos out there where people are questioning things, are trying to point things out, are having manufactured discussions where you have a lot of times when it comes to Christianity, you'll have two people who both believe in Christianity sort of making the argument. There's not somebody there to call them out for it, but you see it. You see tons of profiles where people will be talking about Islam and Muslims and shit. You'll never see anything where people are talking about the legitimacy of Judaism and whether it's real or not, or whether it's true or not. And anytime you see anything that has to do with Israel, you literally, it's people doing the same thing they do in the comments. Attacking the person for pointing out facts and telling that goyim that they're not allowed to talk about these things. What are you even doing? Why are you talking about these things? Why are you so obsessed with children being raped? Jeez, just let it go. It's not a big deal. And if you're dumb enough to think that they give us things like YouTube for free, no payment involved, we're just allowed to have YouTube or Facebook or any of these things without any sort of manipulation, without any interference whatsoever, you're just stupid. But it's also the same stupidity of the people saying anybody can edit Wikipedia. Anybody can just edit Wikipedia. Not true. And I can prove it without a shadow of a doubt, right? Because the way Wikipedia works, if you can edit the page, most of the time when it's something that has to do with Israel, you can't even edit the page. There is no editing of the page. Let's see. Here, we'll put in AIPAC. So if I wanted to look up AIPAC, it would pop up, but the page would be completely locked. There is no editing this page. But let's just say you could edit this page. You're dumb enough to think that there's no policing system, that anybody can just edit it and that's how it works. I mean, I think you're just trying to make an argument because you can't make any real arguments. I mean, if anybody could edit Wikipedia, do you realize how dangerous that would be for Wikipedia? On the pages you're allowed to edit, you can make the edit, but then the edit gets sent to the main hub where they decide whether your edit is good enough or not, if it goes with the Israeli narrative. And if it does, then your edit's allowed to stay. If it doesn't, I mean, like I say this every day, the people, the trolls that are here every day know that at some point in my video, I'm probably going to read the Team Jorge Wikipedia page. So why don't they edit it to say something crazy like Guy Williams is stupid, Guy Williams is, you know, blah. They could do whatever they wanted to in that regard. And yet they don't. But if there wasn't the checks and balances put in place and anybody could just edit Wikipedia, they could destroy Wikipedia. They could just go to anything they wanted to, hit select all, delete, and then save the edit. And now all the work that's been put into that page is gone. That wouldn't make any sense by Wikipedia standards. There has to be some sort of checks and balances in place to prevent that exact thing from happening. I mean, ask yourself why the majority of the people that are commenting, again, they're opposing the guy that thinks we should cut off Israel. We shouldn't be the slaves to the Jays anymore. Who the fuck is going to disagree with that? Who's like, nah, we should let these psychopaths continue to run the show. It's totally okay that Israel controls our government through AIPAC. That's totally okay. Why are you making such a big deal about it? Gotta love it. Nothing to see there. Yep. Thoughts on Terry Davis? Don't know who Terry Davis is. I'm sure it's just another one of the distractions that they give us. Like, it's hard to think that Epstein is the distraction, right? Because they make such a big deal about it and they make it seem like they don't want us talking about this. Are we still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? What's going on here? And it's funny how, like, this story has been a story for the last 5+ years. Well, actually, since like 2008. But all of these daily shows and all, they didn't start talking about it till recently. And if you pay attention, a lot of what they say is the same shit. They know that you probably watch one of the channels, and you're probably not going to watch each channel's segment on the same thing. Because if you did, you would hear basically the same jokes, sometimes word for word, because again, it's all just controlled it's controlled opposition. Oh, I'm the distraction. Yes, me and my 23 viewers, I am the distraction. You are correct. This is no, you do it. No, it's you. Like, this is the best that they can do. I love it. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Right? Oh, we have a Submariner engineer who literally welded them together. It's 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. And he's like, I gotta find this shit. There's somebody out there talking about submarines. I gotta go find that person. I gotta let him know, hey, I welded those things together now. Don't you be saying anything about submarines. Yeah, fuck all that genocide and pedophiles. I don't care about that. I care about submarines, goddammit. You know, we all know that there's controlled opposition out there, right? We all know that that's a thing. So what do you think it looks like? Because anytime you start bringing up controlled opposition and pointing out what it actually is, what actually falls into that category, people are going to come out and defend it. At least he's not on a ton of prescription or smoking crack. Weed ain't shit but natural medicine. Are you trying to get attacked, Leah? It wouldn't matter if I was on all the prescription pills. It wouldn't matter if I was on all the illegal drugs. That doesn't eliminate the substance that's being talked about here. Substance. You know? That doesn't eliminate this pedophile problem. That doesn't eliminate the Epstein distraction. You know? It's all just, these are all just cowardly attempts at trying to distract. And again, you have to ask yourself, who is going to do that? Who is going to be the one that's like, no, you shouldn't be talking about these things. You should be talking about other stuff. He has an idea in his head. He doesn't read the full chat. Pretty sure things that the feather tried to blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I'm supposed to keep reading that kind of dumb shit. You can make the whole paragraph about this, that, or the other, but you can't, nothing to say about these other things. Not yet. 2028. I'm running for president in 2028. The number one thing will be that all pedophiles shall be executed. Rapists, pedophiles, you're all gone. The second thing, and sort of the equal thing, because these are on equal levels, because they're basically the same thing anyway, is that we no longer allow that cult to exist in the United States. We're going to give them what they want. I'm going to say, hey, Palestinians, look, I know it sucks, but why don't you come here? We'll put you up here. We'll let you have your own little space here where you can live your lives peacefully without being bombed every day. And if your land opens back up, we'll help you get back to it. No problem. Which I absolutely believe. If the U.S. is no longer the big brother, the big protector of Israel, Israel won't last too long. He's the distraction. I am the distraction. The distraction. I'm on par with all these other things that you see on TV and all this other stuff. You're forced to watch me. I'm not just some random YouTube guy who you apparently have some crush on. I'm the distraction. That totally makes sense. Hey guy, do you believe in free will? Not from the biblical standpoint, because the Bible is just fucking chosen nonsense. Like, this is, again, Christians want to engage in the conversation, but never seem to want to, like, address what's actually being said. Do you guys not understand that your entire Bible, all those fairy tales are actually Jewish fairy tales? The characters in the Bible, they're all Jewish. They literally talk about the Gentiles as separate groups. Like, multiple times they mention the Gentiles as a separate group of people. Do you guys not get that? Like, why do you think... I try to, like, put it together. I try to understand it from your point of view, but I just can't. If I was a Christian, I would be like, hey, why aren't we the number one people? Why aren't we God's chosen people? Why is that other religion, completely different religion, our chosen people? Why are we second tier to them in our own religion? It's this, I mean, it's literally the same thing as the United States, right? Why as Americans are we second tier to the Israelis? Why can we openly, protest against our government, talk bad about the United States, burn flags and shit if that's what you choose to do? You talk about a foreign country, well, that's when it becomes a problem. When you start talking about this other country, that's not good. We can't have that. If you agree, like, share, sub. If you disagree, dislike, share, and sub. God loves you, yep. I want nothing to do with that piece of shit God. If that God is real, I want nothing to do with it. The God that's literally watching its chosen people commit genocide against innocent children, I just want nothing to do with it. And it's been that way ever since I can remember, you know, first hearing about how the church got caught raping another child. Man, your God sure seems to like to watch that happen a lot, doesn't it? That is my litmus test for whatever someone is even remotely worth listening to on politics. Humans are marbles in marble tracks, not minds playing a pinball machine. It's determinism all the way. What? What? They haven't been told so, and as good as a religious person, they don't ask questions. You believe only what you're told. The stuff you're mentioning is conveniently left out. Exactly. Exactly. They believe it's all about selfishness and arrogance. Really, it's funny how Christianity is like presented as this absence of ego, this submission to a higher power and all this other shit. When the reality is, you believe that your God of the universe listens to your prayers, changes its mind. It has a plan. It has a plan. But if you close your eyes really, really tight and push your hands together, and of course you've given a significant donation to the church because God doesn't answer prayers, God answers tithing, then the God of the universe will change its plan for you. That's how arrogant you are. You arrogantly believe that your Sky Daddy fairy tale is true, but all those other ones are just stupid. Oh my God. Those Muslims are so stupid. Look what they believe. They're so stupid. Muhammad. Oh my God. Allah. His name is not Allah. It's God. Come on. Like it's the craziest shit. Oh, let's see. People who believe that shit haven't thought it through. Absolutely. Absolutely. What's up, Karen? I see yous. To see if you're a serious person or not. What? I don't even understand. I mean, the majority of the truthers out there seem to still believe in God for some reason. Like their truthering stops when it comes to the God Christian aspect. Their own personal shit, because again, you don't want to believe that you die. You don't want to believe that once you die, that's it, you're done. You want to believe that, you know, you've lived this fucking shit life, following the rules, not speaking up when you're supposed to, doing all that shit so that you can go to heaven when you die. So the real party can start. Woohoo! You know, yeah, life was a struggle, but death is going to be the big party. Yes, I see you. However, you twist and turn it. Millions of people who vehemently believe what they are told is true are wrong. I say all of them, but for them, it's the other ones. Of course, they're wrong, which is just, it's one of these things where, again, it goes back to what I was saying initially. People get upset when you say you're wrong about something. Instead of going, no, I'm not. Here, let me explain to you why you're wrong. They're like, you're not supposed to say I'm wrong about something. How dare you say I'm wrong? I don't like what you're saying, so you shouldn't say it. Who knows? Doesn't mean that some desert myths are what we recognize our society around. Yep, take my pill. Let it matter, not talk to yourself. Drunk in your... I'm drunk now. So now I'm drunk. I thought it was meth and crack. No, bro, no one cares. Your Y-O-U-R yelling into your phone, Y-O-U-R, phone drunk at 9:30. Yep. We should take you seriously. Someone who doesn't know which your to use at the right time. I can't tell you how much I love that. When people want to talk about how stupid I am, but they can't even get the yours right. Hate me in hell, I want to hang with Bowie, Jim Morrison, and wait for Keith Richards. Yeah, well, you're going to be waiting forever with that guy, apparently. Now you're, Y-O-U-R, yelling about grammar in your yard like a lunatic. I am screaming. Look at me screaming. Like a lunatic. We should definitely be more like you who doesn't know third grade grammar. We should take you seriously because you clearly know things. You're clearly, above everyone else on that one. It's a bong. What's bong? This isn't a bong. Anybody who calls this a bong must not know anything. Bongs have water in them. Well, like I say, people are going to find whatever they when they're bothered by what I'm saying, basically because they're guilty. The reason why what I'm saying bothers you is because you're guilty of it. Otherwise, you wouldn't care. And not only are you guilty of it, you know I'm right. That's why you care so much. There are endless streams on YouTube you could be watching where people are saying all kinds of shit. And you're not there. You're not there telling them that they're wrong. You're in here specifically every single day for hours on end. Because I'm wrong, we shouldn't kill pedophiles, we shouldn't cut off Israel, we shouldn't stop the genocide, we shouldn't do all those things. Oh, don't call that a bug. You'll have him screaming like a lunatic again. That's me. Crazy lunatic. It's funny how I'm always a crazy lunatic who's yelling when I correct you on something. Whenever I correct these fucking idiots, then I'm crazy. But then if I don't address what they're saying, I'm crazy. I mean, it's all the same stupid shit. No one takes advice. What advice am I giving anyone? And apparently you care. You're here. You're here begging for attention because you care about my perspective that much. This is probably locked. Yep. It's fun how that works. Good morning from Detroit, Michigan to Detroit, Michigan. Good morning. Detroiters need to step up. We need to unify. But all that shit, civic pride, racial pride are stupid, stupid things. If you're caught up in civic and racial pride, it's because you've been distracted. Come on, let's go. I understand why people of color have that idea of pride, because white people for such a long time tried to make it sound like people of color were less than. They used that as a weapon for a very long time. But still, I mean, it's still stupid. You had nothing to do with it. Your parents had sex. Congratulations. Your parents had sex in a place. Congratulations. Oh, my wife keeps farting. Jesus, wife, stop that shit. The thing is, every single Christian that comes in here and tries to say something, why don't they just use, reality? Why don't they quote some stuff? Why don't they prove that their thing is real? And it's because most of you Christians don't even know the Bible that you believe in to be able to quote from. You don't know like any of the shit. You just believe the bare basics for your own personal benefits so you can go to heaven when you die, and that's just it. These Palestine Facebook groups and YT pages, actually it's the IDF. Yes, I am the IDF. That's how that works. Because what you see more often than not are Jewish people talking bad about Jewish people. You see that everywhere, don't you? You didn't start shit. But hey, whatever you have to tell yourself to feel good. This loser doesn't even serve. I don't even serve. Okay. Yep, the ice, yep. Oh, I'm just so bad. Never mind all the pedophilia, right? Do you even serve, bro? Serve who? What kind of serve? What is this dumbass nonsense now? Yeah. Like it's such a strange thing, because it's like, what's the point of even having a conversation with a Christian? They're so woefully unprepared to actually be able to engage in anything that's said. They don't know their own shit. And as far as the military goes, fuck no. I would never be dumb enough to serve in the military. That's stupidity. And that's at this point, and for many years now, if you're in the military, if you join the military, there's a pretty good chance you're going to end up killing brown people. Poor brown people. And if you join knowing that, it's because you're a touch of a psycho, right? You know that you're going to, like, no other option. There's no other group that you can join and be like, well, there's a really good chance you're going to kill poor brown people. Nothing else exists in that way. I mean, I guess if you're talking to maybe a cop, but that's just another extension of the military. But they've tricked you, and the reward is that you get to kill brown people. And if you join the military knowing that that's a good possibility, you've got some shit inside you that I don't, that's for sure. If you did serve, submarines are real, because we soldiers, we do what we're told and we believe what we're told. They told us they're real, so we believe that they're real. I'll address the submarine thing real quick for all of you idiots out there. For everyone curious. It's a real easy experiment that any of you can do. Right? And this is one of those things that if you're actually interested in the conversation, then you'll acknowledge it. If you're just trying to distract with bullshit, well, then you'll just keep going. But this 200-pound body doesn't sink if I have that much air in my body. My lungs are about this big. That much air takes up what? 1% of my body mass, if that. What do you think worth of air makes up of my body mass? How much air do you think that is? It's not even enough to blow up a whole balloon in one shot. But if I want to sink this 200-pound body, that's 70% water, mind you. 70% water, bones, muscles. I don't have a lot of fat on my body. More now so that I'm getting older, but for the most part, not a lot. The only way I can sink to the bottom of the water and stay there is by exhaling all of my air. Then I can sink. So there's no air in the body anymore. But then I can't really last that long underwater now, can I? If you believe or understand that, but then you think that they have these tubes, these metal tubes that are the size of 80 school buses. The biggest one is as big as 80 school buses. And it has its own nuclear power plant inside of it. If you believe that that much air can not only like go under the, but like swim around and all that, I don't know what to tell you. A 200-pound body that's 70% water, bones and all these other things can't sink unless I get rid of that much air. That much air keeps me floating. And I can even float on the top of the water if I try to. It's not like I just sink down halfway. Nope. But see, again, it's not like anybody's going to address this point, right? You're going to say, what, dumb shit? How are you going to... Well, the ballast tanks that hold, 5%, 10% of the entire submarine's density, its entire space can be filled with water. That then allows the submarine to go up and down and swim like a fish. Yeah, okay, cool. And see, when I make these arguments, what do they say? What do they say? Let's see. Remedial math, yep. He's the type of guy who he's blah, blah, blah. Don't stop telling me the dude has never heard of ballast. Yep, ballast tanks, there we go. Ballast tanks. I always tell you guys, take a 2-liter to the beach. Put the cap, empty it out and put the cap on it. See how much energy it takes to swim that thing down to the bottom. And remember, you have to hold it there with effort. Otherwise, it's just going to pop right up, pop out of the water. Fill that 2-liter halfway. Fill it halfway with water, and see if you can sink it down to the bottom. And it just stays there. It just floats. They love to show you the picture of the submarine just at the bottom of the water, just floating, just hovering there. Think of how much energy it would take to hold that thing in its position underwater to keep it from popping up. And the submarine definitely doesn't fill 50% of its mass, its capacity with water. Ballast tanks make up like 5, maybe 10% of the entire mass of it. Never mind the air, never mind the pressure, never mind the idea of a nuclear power plant existing in a small little tube underwater. Never mind all that shit. Never mind a history that really don't make no sense. Basically, submarines failed. Well, actually, correction. In 1620, they worked. But then it was fail. And then suddenly, we just figured it out. We just got it figured out. Just figured out, just like that. But notice how divers' oxygen tanks sink. I wonder why. Yeah, because they're extremely heavy weighted tanks. And the inside pressure, I mean, if you're a scuba diver, you have to have a weighted jacket and you have to have all this extra weight on top of your body. And that little tiny amount of air can keep you, if you didn't have the weighted aspect of it, you'd float. But hey, that doesn't matter. And again, notice how I bring up stuff, but they don't say anything. My best friend has been hospitalized from radiation exposure while serving on a nuclear sub. It's 10 in the morning on a Tuesday, and the guy whose best friend has been hospitalized from radiation exposure from a nuclear sub, he's here. He's here. He's got nothing else going on in his world. He made his way here so he could be like, hey, my best friend, okay? Do you believe that shit? Okay, so when I swim down and keep myself down there, I guess that isn't real, huh? Yeah. Okay. I mean, what kind of argument is that? This is stupid. This is why I don't even bother, because it's just stupidity. And although it's very similar, because this is what happens when you talk about Israel, when you talk about Epstein, when you talk about any of this shit, it's just stupidity. My belief in submarines doesn't matter. At least I don't think it does. Apparently it does. Apparently it really, really bothers the system that someone like me is saying these things. The last thing they need is people questioning submarines like we do, space travel. But to me, my belief in submarines is not important. Not when you compare it to genocide, pedophilia, slavery, all these things. And yet, for some reason, his best friend, doesn't come through and be like, fuck yeah, we need to kill those pedos. Fuck yeah, we need to stop the genocide. We need to be free from the slavery that these people put us under. Nah, nothing like that. It's just fucking silly, man. It's silly. And the bad part is I end up missing like real comments because I don't even fucking bother with this stupid shit. Buddy, your argument is like saying cell phones are fake because there are no wires connecting the lines. No, I'm literally on a cell phone right now. I would imagine most of you are on a cell phone right now. Yeah, it's not the same thing. And if that's the best you can come up with, then thank you. This is what you guys do. I appreciate it. Palestine flags. See, the problem is it's not, as much as we want to say free Palestine, free Palestine is the thing we've been allowed to say. Because what people mean when they say free Palestine, they just kind of don't realize it, or they're not going to, say it outright, is that we need to eliminate the J control scheme, the J cult that enslaves Palestine. That is bringing the genocide upon Palestine. It's like when you say, oh, it's not all the J's, it's the Zionists. Well, Zionist is another thing you're allowed to say. I don't know what free Palestine even means. What a free Palestine actually is. When are you talking about as far as free Palestine goes? Are we saying pre-2023 Palestine? Are we saying pre-2006 Palestine? Pre-1983 Palestine? Pre-1967 Palestine? Pre-1948 Palestine? Pre-1919 Palestine? Like, when are we talking about free Palestine? What do you mean by that? And do you mean like we put an oligarch in charge? We put a king in charge? We put a religious order in charge? Free Palestine is so much, it's so vague. And it doesn't actually, what do you say free Palestine to the Libyans, or to the Libyans, but to the Lebanese, to the Syrians, to the Iranians, to all the other people that are being victimized by Israel right now? The reality is Israel is just the invisible house. It's an invisible house with these invisible borders that are ever expanding. That you know, Israel isn't like a thinking a being. It's just an idea. It's the name of a place. It's the cult that Israel represents. It's the cult that molests and mutilates their own children. It's the cult that is consistently guilty of ritualistic sexual abuse against their own children. It's the cult that believes, you know, that each one of them should have 2,800 Gentile slaves. You know, there are just so many aspects of that cult that we wouldn't accommodate if it was anybody else. We would call it out what it is. We would just destroy it if it was anybody else. But because you've been tricked into believing that those are your Christian God's chosen people, you keep your mouth shut. You know, and it would be, imagine if all the people that are screaming free Palestine were instead screaming end the cult. It's a cult, man. It's a disgusting, horrific cult. End the cult. You are correct. This guy needs to run the country. You are correct. I will be running for president in 2028. Good morning. As someone who maintains submarine coats, I despise your words. Just so stupid. 100% end the cult for real. That's what it comes down to. And if you agree, like, share, sub. Don't forget to go get your free download. Start sharing the music. Music is our most powerful weapon. That's why they've cultivated it the way they have. You know, that's why they've made it into what it is. Instead of black people talking about the plight of black people anymore, they're talking about, nigga, I'm gonna shoot you, I'm gonna kill you, bitch, nigga, whole bitch, kill, shoot, drugs, drugs, drugs. Because that's what they wanted it to be. Why do you think you've never ever seen a Jewish or Israeli bad guy in any movie or TV show or anything like that? Why do you think that is? You know? They know the power of these things. And again, music is one of these things that crosses all cultures. You know? Music can say what it says, and if you pick up a few of the words that you might know, let's say you don't speak English as your first language, well, you can always look up the words of that song. And then you know what that song is saying and that it represents you, and you can then share that shit as a voice, you know, as to voice your frustrations. You know, they fucked up in the 60s. The Laurel Canyon thing, they fucked up. Nobody ever asks, why did so many anti-establishment bands and music groups, whatever, back in the 60s and 70s, how did so many of those guys get lucrative record contracts from completely J-owned record companies? How did that work out? Especially with as involved as the government is in the entertainment industry, shit like the production codes from the 30s. You know, where they made it illegal for gays to be used in film. Where they said that in any movie depicting cops and gangsters and whatnot, the cops always had to win. You couldn't make movies about where cops look bad or come out on the losing end of things. And a bunch of other shit. The production codes of the 30s would just blow your mind if you actually read about it. But music is such a powerful weapon. And it's why there are no protest songs. Where are all the protest songs? This shit's been going on now. The flat out genocide has been going on now for almost 2 years. None of these musicians, these empathetic, intelligent musicians, are writing songs about what's going on. But they fucked up in the 60s and the 70s. They in the 60s, in the late 50s, early 60s, they wanted to do the Vietnam War, right? They wanted us to be involved in this bullshit. And after World War I and World War II, Americans were like, fuck you and your war, we want nothing to do with it. The intellectual side was opposing the war. So they had a little think tank where they were like, all right, so let's create a character. We'll call it a hippie. And we'll make it all those things we don't want. So what do we not want? Well, we don't want the Goyim, men to have long hair. We don't want the Goyim smoking pot, opening up their brains. Definitely don't want them taking acid. We don't want this idea of free love and unity and everything that's associated with it. So we're going to make this hippie represent all of those things. And we're going to say to the people, we're going to present it as such that you can be against the war, but then you're one of these dirty hippies who doesn't want to shower and all that other stuff. Or you're an intellectual, you're a conservative, and you support the war. Which side are you on? And they created this whole hippie perspective and this whole this manipulation that was the Lord, and they used their own children. Jim Morrison's dad was the admiral on the ship that was used in the well publicized, well documented false flag that was the Gulf of Tonkin affair. Right? There's not even a question there. This isn't some conspiracy theory or anything like that. The main catalyst for getting the Americans into the war, the Gulf of Tonkin affair, was orchestrated, was manned by Jim Morrison's dad. You got groups like Crosby, Stills, Nash, who just unified. They just unified and made a group out of it. But both Stills and Nash, their fathers were associated with government mind control. They were military. All these guys are military brats, supposedly. So many of the big musicians from that time are military brats. Crosby is from the Crosby lineage that came over on the Mayflower and shit, kind of bullshit. That's the narrative we're given. But they did this, and they kind of fucked up because, they just assumed their kids would fall in line when the reality was the stardom that they were given, the ability to travel and see all the different Goyim all over the world, it opened their minds. They weren't the fucking, direct descendants of the psychopaths that were their fathers' fathers and shit. And they sort of rebelled, and it almost got out of control. But they introduced cocaine. They brought about disco. They eventually brought in, punk rock and rap and all that, and they just totally slaughtered the power that music has. And rap almost actually did it too. When rap was first the first rap song, they stole the chic beat, and then they make this dumbass song about, a hip, a hop, a hip, a the hip, hip, a hopper, you don't stop, a rocker to the bang, bang, boogie, sit up, jump, the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to be. Like that means something. And it was a boy band. It was the Sugar Hill Gang. It was a boy band. These guys weren't like old friends. They got put together. They got put together and they were allowed to steal the chic beat. And they just put out this nonsense song. And then rap sort of evolved and you started getting songs, you know, don't push me 'cause I'm close to the edge, by these obviously gay guys. You know, they only gave gay guys that position. And you know, I have no issue with gay guys at all. I have an issue with gay guys pretending to be straight and then, you know, influencing the culture as this is, you know, I mean, it's just, I hate the pretend aspect of it. Just be gay. It's all good. I don't care what you do. But instead you have all these gay guys pretending to be this ultra masculine version of the people who, you know, we kill each other and we beat each other and boy, I hate those gay people. And like, there's something way wrong with that. But as rap really started to sort of, you know, reach the people and it was, you know, it started to be this know your roots, you know your history, black people should be unified kind of thing. They were like, oh, we can't have that. Time for another boy band. And on 8/8/88, the infinity symbol across the board, they, the chosen, gave us niggas with attitude. Literally, can you imagine the chosen sitting around their boardrooms just laughing at that shit? And they call themselves NWA, niggas with attitude. Like, and it immediately went from, you know, unify, know your history, all that, to gangster rap. Gangster rap became all the thing because they gave NWA the spotlight. They put them on as all these, you know, not just black, but the white kids allowed to ride around with guns and, you know, they looked really cool. They bucked the system. You know, they present us with these rebels that buck the system, supposedly. And because we all inherently know that the system is broken, we gravitate towards them, not realizing that these are just fucking creations. Public Enemy, get the fuck out of here. I have a personal beef with Public Enemy. I have a personal beef with Professor Griff. I think Professor Griff is a bitch-ass piece of shit. And matter of fact, TBG has a song about him. And it's one of our better songs, I might admit to, called Public Enemy. And it's because, you know, these are these are characters we're given. These aren't characters that push unity between black and white people and, hey, we have a common enemy. It's not us, it's not each other, it's them. No, Public Enemy was to make white people scared of black people. Walking around in their military fatigue, they're all black uniforms with their military marches and shit like that. Military precision. It was supposed to scare black people. Do you guys know that the scariest black organization, you know, the one that terrified white people for decades, the Nation of Islam, dun dun dun, the Black Muslims. Do you understand that that was created by what appears to be a Jew? The founder of the Nation of Islam is not Elijah Muhammad like you've been led to believe. It's actually a guy called, well, one of his identities was Wallace Fard Muhammad, F-A-R-D. But again, he has multiple names. And if you don't think there's something weird about it, let me show you something. Let me show you something.
So this is Netanyahu. Okay. This is Netanyahu. And this is Wallace Fard Muhammad. That is the guy who started the Nation of Islam. Netanyahu. God damn it. God damn it. Netanyahu. Wallace Fard Muhammad. Netanyahu. Wallace Fard Muhammad. And Wallace Fard Muhammad is a fucking character, man. He appears in the historical lexicon at around 30 years old, where for some reason random newspaper clippings about somebody, you know, the fact that some guy bought a tamale cart and was going to start selling tamales somehow makes the newspapers to begin with. But it's, you know, those articles from 1907 have been saved. And they have a different name altogether. It's not Wallace Fard Muhammad. It's you know, Fred the Turk or some shit like that. That's the guy that started the Nation of Islam. So it's funny how as my like count goes up, the view count goes down. Is that how live feeds work on YouTube? On social media? Is that how shit works? The more likes you get, the less viewers you get? Isn't it supposed to be that the more likes you get, the more your shit is sent out there? Now I have more likes than I have watchers. Does that make sense? Is that how that works? Do you guys, you know? At one point, we had 80 viewers at 2 different points in this feed. 2 different times the view count was allowed to go. I mean, at one, you know, it had gotten below 13 the first time and then made it back its way all the way back up to 80. And that was like 5 minutes ago. Now we have 18 likes and 14 viewers. Make that make sense. Look at this shit. Look at this. Ben Zion Milikowski is Bibi's real name. Exactly. They all changed their names. Every single Israeli prime minister changed their name. They changed it to something that sounded more Semitic because, as a recent study just showed, 95% of Israelis don't have Semitic blood. And you ever wonder why we seem to give a shit, so much of a shit about Ukraine? Well, it's because that's where most of them come from. Ukraine has one of the largest chosen populations in the region. And they always have been associated with the chosen people. Do you guys know that for 3 weeks prior to the unprovoked invasion of Russia into Ukraine, Israel had 3 of the largest passenger planes available running non-stop flights from Israel or from Ukraine to Israel, bringing anybody that wanted to take advantage of the law of return, which states that as long as you have at least one grandparent that was chosen, that was J, then you can come to Israel and you'll get your you know, free housing, free healthcare, free food, free everything. For 3 weeks prior to an unknown, completely unprecedented, unpredicted invasion, they were taking people out of Ukraine. And you've seen it time and time again. Ukraine talking about wanting Israel's help. Show me some other country that has been in a conflict and has been asking for Israel's help, of all places. Israel doesn't help anybody. Israel doesn't help us, the largest fucking, you know, their number one ally. They're our number one ally in the region. Nobody can show us how they're our ally, how they benefit us even a little bit. We give them $3.8 billion a year, lump sum cash payment every year as a base. That's not even like the extent of it. That's just the base guaranteed amount for now, until Trump re-signs the Memorandum of Understanding either in 2027 or 2028, one of the 2 years, but he's going to re-sign it. It's actually usually signed in whatever the 6 year is, 06, 16, 2026, and so it might even be in 2026. But I'm making another prediction. I don't usually make predictions. The last prediction I made was telling you months in advance that Israel was going to do the false flag narrative where, you know, like the October 7th thing where no Israelis died or were taken hostage, and then use that as an excuse to commit genocide. I told you guys that shit was going to happen by the end of 2023, as early as like April, maybe April of 2023. I started saying it, saying I'll quit doing all the live feeds and everything like that. If Israel doesn't do some sort of false flag that leads into genocide by December of 2023, by the end of December 2023, I'll stop what I'm doing. You guys will never see me again. And I was more right than I thought I was going to be, that's for sure. But the next prediction I'm making is that when Trump re-signs the Memorandum of Understanding, something you've never even heard of. Don't you think it's weird that you've never heard of a Memorandum of Understanding before? There are 2 memorandums of understanding that I know of. One is that we give Israel, every 10 years, a set amount is decided, and then we give them that much cash in the first fiscal month of each year. Cash payment, one lump sum, no scrutiny, no nothing. That memorandum is signed every 10 years. The second memorandum of understanding that I know of is that Israel is to have the mightiest military in that region, and at any time anything offsets that, the United States is responsible for balancing things out again, for supplying Israel with what it needs to balance that out. Now, that might be confusing, so let me give you an example. The Abraham Accords, which are Trump's true legacy, the Abraham Accords are insane. And basically what they are is the President of the United States brokered what they call normalization deals. Again, these are things you can't really look up. Like if you look up Memorandum of Understanding on Wikipedia, it's going to take you to Israel-US relations, because Israel's always first. Right? If you look up normalization deal, again, it's going to take you to some Israel-specific thing. But while we were all concerned with COVID and being distracted by COVID, Trump was brokering deals with all of these Muslim countries, Middle Eastern countries, that made it so Israel, like Qatar, Qatar hosted the World Cup last, right? And they were not an Israel-friendly country, but the Israelis wanted to go watch World Cup. So a normalization deal was struck between Israel and Qatar. And basically what it means is that the Israelis can travel to and from whatever country these normalization deals are set up as without having to worry about visa issues or anything like that. And that whatever country it is, guarantees that should Israel, I don't know, do a false flag and then start a genocide, that they'll stay out of it. And as a reward for signing those normalization deals, the United States then pays for it. Whatever sort of stipulations, whatever prizes that country wants, the United States gives them. A great example of it is with Bahrain. So to sign the deal, amongst other things, Bahrain was guaranteed a certain amount of F-35 fighter jets. And I don't know that exact amount. But let's just say they were given 25, they were given 20 F-35 fighter jets in order to play nice with Israel. Well, because of the memorandum of understanding that says Israel is to have the mightiest military in the region, because we gave Bahrain 20 F-35 fighter jets to play nice with Israel, we also have to give Israel 35 F-35 fighter jets to offset that what we gave Bahrain to play nice with Israel to begin with. So Israel just benefits on every level. And when you think about that, we give Israel $3.8 billion a year, yes, but we also have to pay for all the other normalization deals that have been struck, where we give them money and we give them weapons and we give these other countries all these things. And anytime you hear about Israel saying buying $20 million worth of weapons from the United States, they're not even giving us our money back like the original intention was. The original intention of the Memorandum of Understanding was to trick the Americans into thinking the U.S. wasn't just freely arming Israel. We weren't just giving them weapons. The original verbiage in the Memorandum of Understanding, at least the 2016 one that Obama signed, had two what they were calling concessions that Netanyahu had to agree to. Netanyahu had to agree to two concessions. Oh, that's sad. Those being, can you hang on? Can you do this real quick? I gotta pee.
I'm gonna put Mo in the room with.
Okay. Oh.
It's gonna take a minute.
Hmm?
That's gonna take a minute.
What is?
Putting Mo in the room with little one. We rescued a kitten. We're trying to get the rest of the zoo to, we'll get her used to the rest of the zoo. And so we're used to several different rooms in the house. Now we're going to introduce her to the old big dog, who's very gentle and sweet and loving. And then we'll introduce her to the other giant dog. And then slowly to the kitties. And hopefully her transition will be easy. She's been through a lot. Dang, yeah. Well, you named your girl cat Benjamin. We have a girl cat named Dave, so we thought she was a boy initially, and then she just wouldn't answer to anything else. Hello.
Hola, mi amigos. So again, we give Israel, we have to give Israel 35 fighter jets for every 20 that we give Bahrain. Like, this shit is just insane. So again, the concessions, he had to sign the two concessions. The two concessions were, they were supposed to use the money not to create their own weapons, but to buy weapons from the United States. And the other one was that they weren't allowed to ask for any more money until this money had run out. By the time it went into effect, which normally it gets signed in the 6 year, and then in the 7 year, it goes into effect for the next 10 years. For some reason with the Trump thing, there was a pause, a break, something, I don't know. But by the time it was re-signed by the Trump administration, it no longer said those two concessions, and instead was that the United States would leave a cache of weapons in Israel that, for emergency purposes, that the Israelis had access to anytime they wanted, and that we would resupply whenever they got low. But the original intention of the memorandums of understanding was to trick the American people into believing that the Israelis are buying weapons from us. That we're not just giving them insane weaponry every day and all that. That they're buying it from us and stimulating our economy and shit like that. Like, it wouldn't be better for our economy to just put that $3.8 billion a year back into our economy. No. It makes more sense that we sell Israel weapons with the money that we gave them. But that's not how it works nowadays. And like I said, if you hear a story of Israel buying X amount of millions of dollars worth of weapons from the United States, they don't even have to use that money we gave them anymore, because we have grants. We have all sorts of grants and all kinds of bullshit set aside, so whenever Israel wants weapons, those grants end up paying for it. So the amount of money that Israel gets every year is so much higher than it's reported. And it's because they're really, really good at fracturing the narrative. When you read about how many Palestinians were killed, they'll say, 240 Palestinians were killed by the IDF, and then another 125 were killed at this point, and then another 78 were killed there. They won't add it all together and present you with this one figure. They separate things and they report it that way. AIPAC will say, we don't control this or that, but yet every member that like the head of whatever organization it is an AIPAC member. So yes, it's not directly run by AIPAC, but if an AIPAC member is the head of the organization, you can guarantee that AIPAC affects it. Look at the comments, right? Not a single one can sit here and debunk anything I'm saying. And the idea of reading headlines, this stuff isn't in the headlines. None of you have heard of a memorandum of understanding before. Unless you've been here, you've never heard that shit before. And you probably don't even believe it. It's so fucking far-fetched and unbelievable to think, why would it be that way? Why would we have so much, allegiance to Israel of all places? Do you guys know that the AIPAC yearly policy conference, where they discuss the policies that the United States, is governed by, is attended by, the only event that's attended by more government officials every year is the State of the Union address. When it comes to voting on things, when it comes to, support for the country, whatever it may be, less government officials go to everything else than they do the AIPAC policy conference. In 2016, both presidential candidates, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, were speakers at the AIPAC policy conference, and neither one of them trashed the other one. They both just pledged their allegiance to Israel. It's just insane. It's insane. The memorandum of understanding is a contract that guarantees a peaceful transfer of power between presidents in the United States. Yeah, that might be one of them, sure. A memorandum of understanding is a treaty, but it's not considered a treaty, therefore it doesn't require the same regulations and the same transparency as an official treaty does. If something is done by a treaty, then it can be monitored and it can be, there can be stipulations and all this other shit. A memorandum of understanding is a legally binding contract, but it's kept out of the spotlight. It doesn't have to be, there doesn't have to be transparency regarding it. There doesn't have to be regulation. There are other memorandums of understanding, and it's funny because if you look up memorandum of understanding again, it's going to show you like the airspace agreement that this place has, or with these couple of places have, or it's really phenomenal. Let's see. The fact is, if it doesn't bring it up, it should tell you something. Considering these are two of the biggest memorandums of understanding that exist, and easily the most costly memorandums of understanding, you would think it would mention it. A memorandum of understanding is a type of agreement between two bilateral or more multilateral parties. It expresses the convergence of will between the parties, indicating an intended common line of action. It is often used either in cases where parties do not imply a legal commitment or in situations where the parties cannot create a legally enforceable agreement. It is a more formal alternative to a gentleman's agreement. So when they can't legally guarantee Israel all that money because it's like what are we talking about? Why would we give this other country all this money like that? It's something that happens underneath underneath the public eye. Whether a document constitutes a binding contract depends on the presence or absence of well-defined legal elements in the text proper of the document, the so-called four corners. The required elements are offer and acceptance, consideration, and the intention to be legally bound. In the U.S., the specifics can differ slightly depending on whether the contract is for goods, falls under the Uniform Commercial Code, or services, falls under the common law of the United States. So, the next thing is in private enterprise, it's something in business. An MOU is typically a legally non-binding agreement between two or more parties outlining terms and details of a mutual understanding or agreement, noting each party's requirements and responsibilities, but without establishing a formal, legally enforceable contract, though an MOU is often a first step towards the development of a formal contract. In government and public affairs. In the United Kingdom, well, gee, that's not what we're talking about. In other Commonwealth countries, such as New Zealand, the term MOU is commonly referred to as an agreement between parts of the Crown. So all under the same umbrella, just different parts of it. The term is often used in the context of devolution. For example, the 1999 Concordat between the Central Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs and the Scottish Environment Directorate. MOUs can be used between a government agency and a non-commercial, non-governmental agency. No mention of Israel. In public international law, this must be where it is, right? In international relations, MOUs fall under the broad category of treaties and should be registered in the United Nations Treaty Collection. In practice, and in spite of the UN's United Nations Office of Legal Affairs, insistence that registration be done to avoid secret diplomacy, MOUs are sometimes kept confidential. As a matter of law, the title of MOU does not necessarily mean the document is binding or not binding under international law. To determine whether a particular MOU is meant to be a legally binding document, i.e. a treaty, one needs to examine the party's intent as well as the signatory's position, e.g. foreign minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs versus the Minister of Environment. A careful analysis of the wording will also clarify the exact nature of the document. The ICC, or the International Court of Justice, the ICJ, has provided some insight into the determination of the legal status of a document in the landmark case of Qatar versus Bahrain, July 1st, 1994. Oh, okay. Advantages. One advantage of MOUs over a formal instrument is that because obligations under international law may be avoided, they can often be put into effect without requiring legislative approval. So there's no vote on it. Hence, MOUs are often used to modify and adapt existing treaties, in which case these MOUs have factual treaty status. The decision concerning ratification, however, is determined by the parties' internal law and depends to a large degree on the subject agreed upon. MOUs that are kept confidential, i.e. not registered with the UN, cannot be enforced by any UN organ, and it may be concluded that no obligations under international law have been created. Although MOUs in the multilateral field are seldom seen, the transnational aviation agreements are actually MOUs. So, planes can fly wherever they want. So you can fly through somebody's airspace to go somewhere else. Those are all international MOUs. Examples. So it didn't say anything about Israel and any of this other part. So now that I've gotten to the examples section, this section is going to show me at least mention the Israeli stuff, right? Examples include the Memorandum of Understanding relating to the treaty between the United States of America and the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics on the limitation of anti-ballistic missile systems on May 26, 1972. Okay. The Memorandum of Understanding on hijacking of aircraft and vessels and other offenses between the U.S. and Cuba. Okay. The agreement between the Cayman Islands and Cuba. Okay. The agreement framework between the U.S. and North Korea over nuclear weaponry on October 21st, 1994. Okay. The Oil for Food program, for which Iraq signed an MOU in 1996. Okay. The agreement between the government of Indonesia and the GAM in the peace process, ACEH, August 15, 2005. Okay. Well, this one's a long one, so this one's going to mention it, right? The agreement between the UK and Jordan, Libya and Lebanon regarding potential extradition of suspects, commonly terrorist suspects. Okay. The Memorandum of Understanding on labor cooperation between the People's Republic of China, Singapore, and New Zealand on 2008. Okay. The Under 2 Coalition is a 2015 Memorandum of Understanding which set climate change mitigation goals for jurisdictions with over 1 billion residents. Okay. On December 12, 2019, Michigan Department of Natural Resources and the Saginaw Chippewa Tribal Nation signed an MOU to co-manage Sanilac Petroglyphs Historic National Park. And that's it. That's it. Here's another. So that was the examples section under the in public international law. And now here's a separate examples section. So this one is probably going to mention it, right? Examples from U.S. law include the generic sample template for the interagency agreements with the Office of Violence Against Women from the U.S. Department of Justice. Okay. Examples from international development context include MOUs developed by grassroots organizations working with municipalities in South Africa to improve land and housing for the urban poor. Okay. The MOU used by NGOs and the Bangladeshi government to determine tasks under the National Tuberculosis Control Program. Okay. The MOUs used by city authorities and NGOs in Harar, Zimbabwe, to collectively document the upgrades and upgrade slums. That's it. Now we're at the See Also section. And the See Also says gentleman's agreement, letter of comfort, contract law, memorandum of conversion, or of conversation, and letter of intent. Isn't that strange how there's not a single mention of the memorandum of understanding between the United States and Israel? Of understanding Israel. Let's see if this pops anything up. If I put memorandum of understanding Israel, no page with this title. Search within pages to see if this phrase appears anywhere. Israel, officially the state of Israel, is a country in West Asia. The state of Israel is a country. That's interesting. Memorandum of understanding between Argentina and Iran. I2U2 group establishes Israel Department of State. Maybe this is one. Let's see. The I2U2 group, also known as the Middle Eastern Quad or Western Quad, is a strategic partnership between India, Israel, the United Arab Emirates, and the United States. The group's first joint statement, released on July 14th, 2022, outlined its intentions to collaborate on joint investments in and new initiatives in water, energy, transportation, space, health, and food security. In an essay for the Middle East Institute, Mohammed Soliman, a foreign policy thinker, he's a foreign policy thinker. That's his official title. He sits around all day going, So this is always the funny part to me is here I am literally proving my argument by using the system that I oppose against itself. So I'm not on some Alex Jones page, I'm not on some conspiracy page, and I'm literally reading to you the official narrative provided by Wikipedia, which is controlled by Israel. And for those that are confused, here, we'll do it again. I know you guys get confused really easily, but we always have to, prove and prove again, right? So IsraelNationalNews.com.
In conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
I came here to learn.
Okay, so again, that's one of those proofs that you're either like holy shit or you're a total fucking idiot, probably a shill of some sort, probably an Israeli shill of some sort. Like for anybody to think that's not screaming proof that Israel controls what we think, bragging about it. When people search this, we want to be there. We want to influence what people think so that they have a balanced Zionist perspective. I really don't know how else you can, how else that's supposed to be presented that doesn't sound evil. But I'm literally looking at the narrative that they want us to have. And even with their best spin on it, it still makes Israel look really bad. 10 viewers, 18 likes. Totally makes sense. Backing everything I'm saying up with fact. Or at least with the facts as we're supposed to know them. I never try to say that Wikipedia is the 100% truth, because it's not. It's the truth that they want us to know. So this Mohammed Suleiman, a foreign policy thinker, made a strategic case for a broader Indo-Abrahamic alliance that includes India, Israel, the UAE, and the United States, and would expand in the future to include Israel and Saudi Arabia to create a favorable balance of power that maintains peace and security in West Asia. Indian commenter Raja Mohan endorsed Suleiman's Indo-Abrahamic concept and how it, quote, can provide a huge fillip, F-I-L-L-I-P, to India's engagement with the extended neighborhood to the west. Suleiman's strategic concept of the Indo-Abrahamic alliance is hailed as one of the most influential articulations of post-U.S. Middle East and eventually is one of the most influential articulations of post-U.S. Middle East and eventually laid the framework for the I2U2 group. India, Israel, the UAE, the United States, and the United States held their first joint meeting virtually in October of 2021. At the time, the grouping of the four countries was compared to the Quad. The inclusion of the UAE and Israel in a cooperative agreement of this kind was made possible by the Abraham Accords, brokered in August 2020, which normalized relations between the two countries. Normalization, whatever the fuck that means. What do you normalize it? Making it so it's normal that these countries that historically don't get along are suddenly just getting along? And it's not the people, it's the governments, because the people everywhere you go still hate Israel. The people of those countries aren't like, well, we signed the Abraham Accord, so, well, whatever they do, it's okay with me. Suleiman intended for the Indo-Abrahamic Alliance concept to transform West Asia's regional geopolitics and geoeconomics and ultimately link the I2U2 plus group with the Quad to shore up an overarching Asian order. Suleiman advocates for expanding the format to include more member states such as Egypt, Saudi Arabia, France, and Greece. I mentioned the Abraham Accords. Let's see what that's. Oh, look, 19 viewers and 19 likes and 14 viewers. Anti-Semitism. Here, we'll come back to this just so we can show you guys something fun, right? Just so there's literally no crybaby involved. Semitism definition. Okay. We're going to go down to the Merriam-Webster, which we all agree Merriam-Webster is the source, right? The Webster's Dictionary. Nothing funny going on here. Merriam-Webster.com, Semitism, blah, blah, blah here.
Semitism.
We're on the Semitism page. Number 1A, Semitic character or qualities. Number 1B, a characteristic feature of a Semitic language occurring in another language. No big deal, huh? Number 2, policy or predisposition favorable to Jays. I had like 80 viewers, 20 now. Policy or predisposition favorable to Jays. That is supremacy. That's what that means. When the policy, the rules and regulations, and the predisposition, the way people look at things, is favorable to one group over another, over everyone else, that's called supremacy. That's the only thing that's called. So essentially, if you are anti-supremacy or anti-Semitism, that's anti-supremacy. And everybody should be opposed to that. It's anti-supremacy in a very specific way. It's not a general term. Semitism doesn't refer to everyone. It refers to one specific group of people. Semitism refers to all of the people in that region. You know, Arabs, Christians, and Muslims alike, you know, white, black, brown, Palestinians, Syrians, Iranians, Africans, North Africans and shit. These are all considered Semitic people. Everyone from that region is considered Semitic. The idea that anyone dares call the Palestinians anti-Semitic just shows you what a fucking joke it is. Because the Palestinians are the Semitic people. Like I said earlier, a new study just came out saying that 95% of Israelis don't have Semitic blood. They come from Ukraine. They come from Europe. They come from the United States. Think about how you've been hijacked. Think about how your thought process has been hijacked. You've been taught to hate anti-supremacism or anti-Semitism, and you don't even know why. Look, even if I was smoking more meth than anyone's ever seen anyone be able to smoke, that doesn't take away from the fact that Webster's dictionary explains it to you. You know, if I'm some huge meth head and I can see it, and you're not a meth head and you can't see it, what does that say about you? I mean, we all know it's just ad hominem bullshit because they can't actually argue against what I'm saying. Who in their right mind is going to give a shit if I tell the truth about what Semitism means other than them? Other than the worst people in the world who are the only ones that benefit from Semitism and from who use the term anti-Semitism to their advantage all the time, who the fuck is going to oppose me saying this? You have to ask yourself, who the fuck is in the comment section that is really going to be angry about what I'm saying and doing? I'm either talking bad about pedophiles or talking bad about the J cult. Other than that, you know, for the most part, we might go in some other directions, talking about religion or whatever. But for the most part, everybody knows what this feed is all about. And yet, instead of actually addressing what I'm getting wrong or why they're here in the first place, all they're trying to do is you know, I'm crazy, I'm stupid, I'm all these bad things, instead of, you know, maybe answering for some of the things that I'm saying. And ask yourself who it is, right? Ask yourself who keeps trying to change the subject. Why would anyone want to change the subject? If you don't like me and you don't like what I'm talking about, you could just leave and go watch, like, literally anything else. Do you guys know a rabbi owns Pornhub? Amongst other pornographic websites. You guys know that? Imagine if some Christian pastor, some major Christian pastor, was said to own pornographic websites. Do you think that would be an issue? You know, if you're on the same page as me and you oppose the J control, I can totally see why I would appeal to you. But if you for some reason disagree with what I'm saying, how come you can't just address what you disagree with? That part's always so funny and telling to me. But Israel isn't bad. Israel is the worst. The worst. Start to finish. From its initial inception until now, it is the worst. It does nothing. It brings the world nothing good. And it's the reason why there are so many, many bad things happening. You know, funny part is I've been doing this for a long time. I've been saying these things for a lot longer than since it's been the popular, cool thing to do. Long before October 7th, 2023's false flag where no Israelis died or were taken hostage. Long before the Epstein shit came out. And yet, in all of these daily videos, not one person ever comes in and tells me what the hell I'm wrong about. Yes, all of them. Everybody who believes the rest of us are goyim, anybody who believes that they're born chosen by God. Yeah, no, we don't have room for that cult. Who either practices or supports Matitza Bapeh, which is something you really should be looking up and understanding that's happening in this country every day, and we just allow it. Matitza Bapeh goblins and chicken swears. Yeah, the chicken thing, I forget about that one. Where every year they do animal sacrifices to alleviate their sins. They whisper a bunch of their sins to the chicken, and then they swing it around by its neck and kill it. And by doing that, they kill off their sins. They're insane. It's the most insane thing. Listen, if you're a good person, this is what I said earlier. You can't be like, oh, I'm a good person. I belong to NAMBLA. I just don't fucking partake in any of the stuff they partake in. It doesn't work that way. I belong to the cult. I don't practice all of the cult stuff. I like the advantages I get from being in the cult. And I ignore a lot of the really horrible shit the cult does. But hey, I don't do it, so I'm a good boy, right? No. No, if you identify as a cult member, you're part of the fucking problem. And this is that thing that like you wouldn't accept it from anybody else. Although I guess you do accept it from every single Christian you ever come across, right? Since we all agree Hamas, who agrees? I think Hamas is great if Hamas is real. It should be on Hamas, right? Hamas that supposedly, after 76 years of being fucking slaughtered, they somehow orchestrated this attack that just doesn't fit the narrative even a little bit. That there's literally no proof of. But in response to, the Israelis had killed at least 240 civilians that year. Half of them being children, at least. They were doing these illegal raids every night, where they were taking thousands of people hostage and killing hundreds more. And again, that 240 is just like the ones the IDF killed at nighttime. There was Operation something or other where they killed another 200 plus people, and Those don't get counted in as the death toll each year. But 2023, by October 7th, was setting up to be the deadliest year for the Palestinians since 2006. Second only to 2022, which was the deadliest year for the Palestinians since 2006. Second only to 2021, which was the deadliest year for the Palestinians since 2006. So the idea that somehow this Hamas group managed to assemble, to get not, I mean, how much does 5,000 rockets cost? They claim that Hamas launched 5,000 rockets into Israel within the first 20 minutes of the attack, which is 4 rockets per second. So not only is how much does 5,000 rockets cost, how much do 5,000 rocket launchers cost? Or at least enough rocket launchers to launch 4 rockets every second for 20 minutes. And of course, there's no footage of it because it all happens so fast. In the most heavily surveilled area in that region, there's no footage of this. However, just in case you didn't believe the narrative that Hamas used paragliders, Hamas released a training video showing them training on paragliders. Just in case you didn't believe the narrative, Hamas wanted you to know that. And Hamas, since October 7th, hasn't been able to do shit. But somehow, during the time where they were completely under blockade, for weeks prior to, Israel had been going in and pulling out Israelis from the Gaza Strip and not letting Gazans leave. Somehow they were able, these people that aren't able to sneak in lumber to be able to rebuild their infrastructure that's been destroyed, because that lumber could, quote, be manufactured into a weapon against Israel. Somehow they were able to sneak 5,000 rockets in and the rocket launchers necessary. See, the difference between me and you is I've actually done the research. On November 7th, 2023, a month after it happened, I had a funny feeling. So I decided to look up the Israel-Hamas 2023 Wikipedia page. And back then, all that time ago, a year and a half ago, or almost 2 years ago, you could actually go to the page, click on edit history, then you could just click back until you got to the first edit. And I just had a hunch, we'll say. And I went there and I clicked back, and I got to the first edit made on the Wikipedia page, which was made at 6:22 a.m. local time, October 7th, 2023. Funny thing is, though, the unprecedented, unknown, completely surprise attack that took place on October 7th started at 6:30 a.m. local time. So somehow, 8 minutes before the event took place, somebody knew it was going to happen and made a Wikipedia page where for the next 3+ hours, I only read the first 3 hours of it, but for the next hours, a small group of people basically laid out the next few days, what was going to happen for the next few days within that first few hours. Like, how did they know all that stuff? It's almost like it's bullshit. And of course, look at the comments. Who in their right mind is going to be like, I don't think we should know about this? Why is this guy talking about this stuff? Don't talk about this stuff. Who's going to be along those lines? Who thinks that this shit isn't important? that there was the actual Wikipedia page was created 8 minutes before the event took place. And even if it was reversed, even if it took place 8 minutes afterward, would it make sense? There's an attack going on. Oh my gosh, all this shit's happening. Here, run and make a Wikipedia page real quick. Would it make sense? If you're watching and it makes sense to you, dislike this video. Share and sub. If this shit sounds crazy to you, you cannot believe that this shit is actually the way that they do this blatantly in front of us like this. They insult us like this. Like, share, and sub. Help out. I mean, you know, I have 20 likes and 13 viewers like normal people, right? Totally makes sense, doesn't it? Right? Look at, they're trying to get us to change the subject. Change the subject. Talk about other places. Talk about other things. Talk about anything else but this. This is huge. This is the beginning of why we're essentially going to war with Iran right now. Is because of this lie. This flat out fucking lie. Crazy against America. What's up, Matt? This all makes sense, right? America last to these bot avatar profiles. Think about how crazy all this is. So let's look this one up. Abraham Accords. Oh, look, the Abraham Accords page is completely locked up. So there is no editing to this page. The guy who wrote Project 2025 has died. You mean the guy they told us wrote it? The Abraham Accords are a set of agreements to establish diplomatic normalization. Well, what is diplomatic normalization? Oh, if you click on the diplomatic normalization right there, you see how it's purple? It's blue and I can click on it. Click on diplomatic normalization. The thing that pops up is Arab-Israeli normalization. Well, that's weird. So there's no other normalization to take place? Diplomatic normalization between Israel and several Arab states, beginning with the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, announced in August and September of 2020. Gee, what was going on in 2020 that had you distracted, that you didn't know it? Why wasn't anybody talking about the secret negotiations between these Israel and these Arab states, these Arab countries, that was facilitated by the United States and paid for by the United States? Why didn't we know about it? What was going on? Seems like we were distracted by something. And you have to love how the Trumpanzees insist Biden was the one that locked us down. When the whole lockdown bullshit, all of that was because of Epstein. Was because the Epstein Israeli narrative was getting exposed and they had to do something drastic to shut shit down. So they gave us COVID. Epstein died on August 10th. The military games held in Wuhan, China, along with Event 201 or Event 2021 or whatever it was called, they took place after that. They're desperate trying to get us to not pay attention to Epstein represents Israel. Epstein is an Israeli operative. He was given the Maxwell profile. You can't go into the Epstein narrative without talking about Maxwell. Robert Maxwell, not Ghislaine. Her dad, Robert. And the crazy part is, like, most people think that Epstein is the main guy. No. Ghislaine was the main. She was the Israeli operative. She was the handler, the higher ranking Israeli operative, I should say. Epstein was the face. Just like, and I'm going to drop a bombshell here, just like how Melania is Trump's handler. Yep. Melania Trump is the power behind that throne. And not in the typical husband listens to his wife kind of bullshit. I just dropped from 19 viewers to 11 viewers, just like that. At the exact same second, 8 people were like, fuck this guy. Melania Trump is the fucking emperor there. Melania Trump that's why you don't see her. Supposedly she's the strategist. She's the reason he ran for president. She's, when he fucks up and does shit wrong, he has to apologize to her. When it came out, the whole grab him by the pussy thing, she wasn't mad at what he did. She was mad that, come on, man, this fucks up your chances now. This fucks up, this makes us look bad. That's what her big issue was. Now we're down to 7. As soon as I bring up Melania Trump being Trump's handler, the feed just absolutely goes to shit. Melania Trump, the Ukrainian, she is the handler. She is the boss. And when you look at their, quote, marriage, whatever the fuck you want to call that shit, it's clearly not what you think it is. It's clearly bullshit. It's clearly the front as to how they're able to do this. There's no reason why fucking fine-ass Melania would have anything to do with old orange balls himself. No reason whatsoever. She had her own thing going. She didn't need his interference. She didn't need the advantage that came from being associated with him. She already had unprecedented stardom based on like nothing. Like it didn't make any sense. This is the shit you need to realize. 5 years old, it's not even remotely funny. She's from Yugoslavia. Yeah, that's what they say. That's what the narrative is. Yugoslavia. The Kingdom of Yugoslavia from 1919 to 1941. Let's see. Let's see if we look at it this way. The former territory of Yugoslavia is divided into 6 independent countries: Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, North Macedonia, Serbia, and Montenegro. A lot of those places don't exist anymore, though. Additionally, Kosovo. She's a creation. Her identity is one of those ones where, you know, if you look, they're like, well, she didn't hang out with a lot of people, and she was gone by this time. You know, the whole narrative is a protection narrative, is flimsy as shit. And when you understand that she is the Israeli, you know, agent that is in control of Trump, it just makes everything make sense. Why she didn't leave his fucking ass all those times he cheated on her, you know, why she's the worst first lady of all time by a mile. You know? It's all just manufactured bullshit. You know, I suggest you go read her narrative. She was introduced to Donald Trump at this time and place and blah, blah, blah. Right before, you know, everything starts cooking. She's clearly the handler. It just makes no fucking sense to think, why would that gorgeous supermodel ever have sex with that man? She met him at, I think he was 52 when they supposedly met. She's 28. And this is a woman who could have her pick of any, you know, she was gorgeous back in the day. She's still an amazing looking woman for her age. But when she's 28 years old, she could have had her pick of princes and royalty and, you know, riches beyond anything. And Donald wasn't even a big shot yet. He was a billionaire, of course. But he wasn't the big shot that he became. And actually, his superstardom really progressed after connecting with her. Like understand what you're seeing here, what you're being shown here. It doesn't make any sense. He is one of the most physically repulsive human beings I've ever seen in my life, and I can't even imagine what he looks like naked. Ugh. And he's never been attractive, physically. Not to mention his personality has never been an attractive one. Show me the clip of Donald Trump being attractive. I'd love to see it. Again, I get that he's rich, but she was wealthy at the time already. The gigs that she was supposedly getting just out of nowhere made her very wealthy. She had a lot of money already in place. And like I said, she could have had her pick of anyone. She didn't have to sleep with orange balls. Plus, she's way older than he likes. But this takes us into speculation. And, you know, we don't necessarily like speculation on this channel here. We much more like facts. Right? We like the factual evidence of things. So, back to the Abraham Accords. Announced in August and September of 2020 and signed in Washington, D.C. on September 15th, 2020, the Abraham Accords were mediated by the United States under President Donald Trump. The UAE and Bahrain became the first Arab countries to formally recognize Israel since Jordan in 1994. Gosh, that's so weird. What a fucking coincidence, huh? It just happened to work out this way. They just happened to do this a fucking year before all of this crazy shit went down. These countries all signed their pledge to Israel that they will not interfere if Israel were to, initiate a genocide a year before everything really started to go down. Interesting. In the months that followed, Sudan and Morocco also agreed to normalize relations with Israel, although Sudan's agreement remains unratified as of 2024. In July 2025, it was reported that the second Trump administration was initiating the expansion of the accords to include Syria, Lebanon, and Saudi Arabia. What a shock. The accords emerged against the backdrop of the growing unofficial cooperation between Israel and Sunni Arab states throughout the 2010s, driven by shared concerns about Iran. Oh, big badass Iran. Everybody just so scared of Iran, who literally does nothing. Hasn't attacked anyone, hasn't picked any beef, has literally tried to stay self-sufficient and to themselves, not getting involved in any sort of conflicts or anything like that. They are the bad guys. I don't want to talk about this. I want you to talk about submarines. This is too adult for me. I've seen movies like Hunt for Red October. I've seen cartoons and stuff that show submarines. I can talk about submarines. I can't talk about things like the Abraham Accords, where our tax dollars are stolen to be given to other countries. I don't like that. On your video with 14 viewers and 22 likes, that makes so much sense. Efforts to build ties had become increasingly public since 2018, with visits by Israeli officials to the Gulf states and the start of limited military and intelligence cooperation. In mid-2020, a normalization deal, again, go try to find out what that shit means, between Israel and the UAE was brokered in exchange for the suspension of Israeli plans to annex parts of the West Bank as proposed by the Trump peace plan. Boy, that sure worked out well, huh? In 2020, they were talking about annexing the West Bank, doing what they're doing now. But in order to get the protections needed, they had to stall it off for 3 years. Look at these dumb fucking comments. It's insane. Who else but fucking dumb Israelis are going to comment these same dumb things all the time? The agreements formalized economic, diplomatic, and security cooperation. In Morocco's case, normalization came with U.S. recognition of Moroccan sovereignty over the Western Sahara. Okay, so we'll recognize that this belongs to you, but you have to say you're buddies with Israel now, okay? We literally get nothing out of these deals. Nothing comes our way. We just pay for it. For Sudan, it included removal from the U.S. list of sponsors of terrorism and access to international financial support. They got bribed. We won't consider you terrorists anymore, and we'll give you money. Just recognize Israel, okay? And agree not to fight against Israel should they, I don't know, start committing genocide within the next few years. The accords were presented in elaborate ceremonies and widely promoted by the Trump administration as a major diplomatic event. Gosh, that's weird, because all I remember is COVID. Reactions in the Arab world were mixed. While governments expressed support, It's right here in front of you. While the people at the top of the pyramid who were getting the direct benefit from this, getting the kickbacks, showed the support, public opinion in many countries remained opposed. The people that these governments are supposed to represent did not agree with this, didn't want this. But then again, these are memorandums of understanding, so there is no legislation, there is no voting on it. The president just signs it into agreement. Oh yeah, the Golan Heights, that land that's been part of Syria forever, that huge plot of land the size of New Jersey, yeah, that now belongs to Israel because the United States president said so. This is other people's land, but Israel wants it, so Israel gets it. And if you have a problem with that, you have to deal with the United States military. Particularly due to the lack, the Accords' lack of particularly due to the Accords' lack of progress in resolving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Gee, that's strange. That's why Saudi Arabia wouldn't sign it. According to them, they refused to sign the Abraham Accords because of what was being done to the Palestinians. And yet, since October 7th, Saudi Arabia has done nothing. As a matter of fact, prior to October 7th, where Trump failed at signing certain countries like Saudi Arabia, well, that became the Biden administration's main goal. Anthony Blinken was over there trying to negotiate the deal almost every other week. He was getting shipped over to try to negotiate the deal. Jake Sullivan, same thing. Even Biden was over there a few times trying to negotiate the deal. At one point, we offered, so again, more of a history lesson here. So if you guys remember Adnan Khashoggi was a dual Israeli citizen with the United States. High-ranking, Israeli representative who was known as a thorn in the side of the Saudi Arabian kingdom. He was one of the reporters who actually had the permission to supposedly expose the Saudi Arabians. More like a brag, more like a flex. Anytime exposure is touted, it's more of a flex. Look what we can do and you can't do shit about it. Just like this whole Epstein thing. But Adnan Khashoggi went to a Turkish embassy to supposedly work some shit out with some Saudi Arabian officials. Security footage showed him walking in, and then a little while later, a guy that looked like him, dressed in his clothes, different shoes, walked out. And he disappeared after that. And for a while, it was like, what happened to him? Then it came out that he had been dismembered and each of his body parts put into a vat of acid and buried in the Sahara, in the desert somewhere. I don't know if it was the Sahara, but in the desert somewhere. And actually, if you guys remember, there was a day a few years back where Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube all shut down at the exact same time for a couple of hours, and there was no explanation given as to why. It's because video of his dismemberment made it to social media, and they had to scrub it. So they shut the three main things down and were able to get rid of it. That's why there was the unprecedented shutdown. But it eventually came out that Saudi Arabia, that the order had come down from the Saudi prince himself, Mohammed bin Salim, had ordered the hit on Khashoggi. And at first, Saudi tried to deny it, blah, 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 but then eventually it was just like, yeah, we did it, so what? Well, Trump was asked, hey, what are you going to do about this? This was an Israeli-American press representative. Press is off limits. This is a violation of international law and just so many different things that of course, get ignored when the 200 plus journalists, Palestinian journalists have been killed, including Shireen Abu Akleh, who was a very prominent journalist who was shot in the fucking face, and then they lied all about it. But when asked what he was going to do about it, Trump was like, well, I got this $2 billion weapons deal going with Saudi Arabia right now. I'm not going to fuck that up, so nothing. And nothing happened, and then it just sort of went away. Well, according to the shit we're given, the Biden office froze it. So the money had been given to the United States, the weapons were being produced, and within mid-deal, the Biden administration supposedly froze the whole thing. And Saudi Arabia has so much money, $2 billion is just, okay, whatever, they don't care. But part of the benefits package to signing the normalization deal that Biden was offering was to, in fact, unfreeze that weapons deal, along with giving Saudi Arabia a civilian nuclear program. That was the offer. Play nice with Israel. We'll unfreeze the deal. We'll, a bunch of other shit. Plus, we'll also give you a civilian nuclear program. Because, brokering deals between the two most guilty of war crime countries in the fucking world, Israel and Saudi Arabia, that's a job for the President of the United States, right? And we should absolutely give Saudi Arabia a civilian nuclear program. How could that ever go wrong, right? Saudi Arabia still turned the deal down, saying, what's being done to the Palestinians is too much to ignore. We have all the shit we need. You guys can't buy us, blah, 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 blah. And it just sort of went away. Until recently, when Trump was again talking about giving the Saudi Arabians the civilian nuclear program. Saudi Arabia supposedly wouldn't sign the deal because of the Palestinians, and since October 7th, hasn't lifted a finger to help the Palestinians. No one has. Supposedly the Houthis out of Yemen are kind of doing something, but they're such a small, insignificant nothing that, they attack a ship or something like that. It's like, oh my God, the worst thing ever. But then Trump went and smoothed all that shit out, which is just a ploy. Because at that time, again, you have to remember, a few months ago, we were being told that there was a tiff between Trump and Netanyahu. Netanyahu was upset. This is a week or two after the video, the footage of Trump pulling out Netanyahu's chair and pushing it in for him. We're then supposed to suddenly believe that after Netanyahu came here and they worked out a bunch of secret shit, that suddenly now they're in some sort of tiff because Trump is over there working out deals, peace deals with the Houthis and all this other, and Iran, actually. And it's literally just so they can pull this bullshit that, the Houthis or one of these other groups that supposedly sign these peace deals, when Israel attacks one of our ships or one of our bases or whatever it may be, and then says, oh, it was the Houthis, now we have another reason to invade. Now we're going to tie yellow ribbons around trees, and Americans are going to be turn that country into rubble, bomb them into smoothies, as the song Sleight of Hand Job says. It's literally just the pretext for a fucking false flag. It's just more bullshit. But this is the Abraham Accords. Despite this, the Accords led to new initiatives in trade, defense, energy, technology, and cultural exchange. The name Abraham Accords was chosen to reflect the shared heritage of the Abrahamic religions, Judaism and Islam. Wait a minute. Are you saying that all of the big three all three Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, all come from the same Abrahamic source? Abraham, the father of the J people? What? No. No. Background. The Israeli-Palestinian peace process was an advance of the Oslo Accord. You know what? This is too much reading for the rest of this. I don't plan on doing the rest of this today. So maybe we'll just go ahead and do the rest tomorrow. Because I'm fucking exhausted. And this shit is a lot harder than people think. And I'm in pain. And there's a reason why I smoke so much. And my day is fucked now, like it always is, because I'll just be exhausted throughout the rest of the day. But hey, it's all good. It's all good. Go get your free download, www.the-bilderberg, bilderberg-group.com. Music is our most powerful weapon. That's why we offer it for free. Just share it. That's all we ask. We appreciate the download, the donations. You know, it asks you how much you want to pay for the download. All the people that have chosen to give 5, 10, 15 bucks. We appreciate the hell out of that shit. But you don't have to do shit. All we ask is that you share it with someone. Butterfly just flew by. Just share it. Just download it and share it. That's all we ask. I'm going to leave you with a link to Hollywoodism, if I can. A lot of times when I end the feed, I can't edit the description until the feed fully uploads for some reason. It's not something that happens every day. It only happens sometimes. So I don't know that until I'm done. So if you go look in the description after the fact and there's nothing there, well, it's because I haven't put it in there yet because it wouldn't let me. You just have to go to a previous video because my description is the same in every video. There's going to be a link to Hollywoodism. And it's a movie they made as a flex, you know. Absolutely, there's a ton of songs that show off my proud hatred of the cult. Plenty of songs about that. Which again, I should be allowed to hate it. And you should be allowed to then tell me why I shouldn't hate it. Yet for some reason that never happens. There's never any argument as to why I shouldn't hate the cult, the supremacy cult. But Hollywoodism is literally them acknowledging, at one point a woman says, well, essentially you could say the American dream is the Jewish dream. It's a movie that if I made it word for word, and instead of saying us and we, I said they and them, I would get panned for making anti-Semitic tropes, and you can't say that they controlled Hollywood and they blah, blah. You can't say that shit. Yet they made the video bragging about all those things, saying those exact things. It's an undeniable video. And it's not made by some conspiracy Alex Jones type of a situation. It's made by them. Because they're so stupid, they don't realize that making a movie where they basically fucking acknowledge all of the conspiracies probably isn't the best idea. There'll also be 3 links to our newest songs, Donald Trump Hates America, COVID Sauce, and Sleight of Hand Job. The videos that exist on Facebook, those links will be there. Go share those. Like the page, share the videos. Like this page, this channel. Share these videos, like the videos, sub, do all that shit so you can be here every day when we show our unified front against, you know, this bullshit. This is Team Goyim. Team Goyim is fighting against the worst enemy the world has ever known. Proudly. Proudly. So, join the fight, help, share, like, sub, all that good shit. And most importantly, the most important thing I say, because we live in a society where we can't fix this problem properly, where these people get slaps on the wrists, where if they even get in trouble, and you're seeing a great example of it right now with the whole Trumpstein thing. You pedophiles, you kill yourself.